Hi, in this video I'm gonna let you know 3 great tips that really help me go through any type of resistance and any type of change. Now, first of all, if you would like to skip to the summary section of this video or maybe one of those tips directly, you can find them all around me. My name is Deem and let's get started. Okay, so changing is not an easy thing. In fact, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And the thing is, we are changing technically all the time, right? But in this video, I'm going to be talking about specifically one type of change, and that is changing yourself to become a better version of yourself. And here are 3 tips that really help me overcome it. Number 1, the end goal. See if you have an end goal, and if you don't have it, well then just do everything possible in order to find it, because as Arnold Schwarzenegger put it, you can have the best ship in the world, but if the captain does not know where to go, he's gonna drift around and just get lost. I would also add that the captain of that ship is always gonna be in doubt whether to go this direction or maybe this direction or backwards or in some other direction, right? Because he's always gonna be in doubt because he does not know where he needs to go exactly, and that is gonna give him more procrastination and more resistance to change, because any direction he's gonna go, he's gonna change himself. Also, Stephen Covey in his famous book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People mentioned that the second habit is having the end goal in mind. Okay, so why is this important? Well, because any end goal is like a command, a direct command to our mind saying that you need to go to this direction or that direction. Okay, so the deeper you put this end goal inside in your mind, the more important your mind thinks that this goal is. And the more important your mind thinks that this goal is, the less reasons it has to fight against it, and the more reasons it has to push you towards it. So there's a phrase, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And you can apply this to this case, of course, and you can do this by saying that if you do not have an end goal, well then your end goal is to not have an end goal. You're gonna be having an end goal in any case, and whether your end goal is to have a goal or not to have a goal, that's up to you. Maybe the fact that you did not achieve change or you did not overcome resistance that you wanted to overcome is the manifestation of the fact that you did not have an end goal, or maybe your subconscious end goal was to be where you are right now. And I know that that might sound kind of harsh, but maybe your end goal was not that challenging, not that pushing, and therefore you did not achieve the results that you wanted to achieve initially. Now, how to insert a goal deep into your subconscious mind? Now, there are many different ways, including, for example, you can write it down on a piece of paper and then read it out loud or maybe in your head every single day in the morning. The first thing you do in the morning, you can just read it and maybe put some music if you want. Another way might include you assigning 10 or 15 minutes to just sit down and imagining yourself being in that end goal again while putting some inspiring songs. Or you can write down the goals on a card and then place it up above your desktop, or maybe right next to the bathroom mirror, or in the kitchen, or maybe in your wallet, just somewhere that you can see it frequently. The goal here is to bombard your subconscious mind with the end goal, and after a while your subconscious mind is going to be taking the signal that, okay, this guy or this girl really wants this, whatever you had in mind or on this piece of card or piece of paper that you had. Okay, moving on to number 2, am I going towards something or away from something? Okay, so let's take an example. So there are 2 people that both consciously say that they want to become rich, but subconsciously one of them wants to be rich again, but the other one wants to be not poor. So the other one is running away from being not poor and the other one is going towards being rich. that will make them work with quite different approaches, because the person that is running away from the poverty is going to be working really hard and really intensely just like the other person, but only until he or she reaches the point where he or she is not poor anymore. So they're going towards a moment, and then they stop because, well, I am not poor anymore, right? Because unconsciously my most important mission was to not be poor, and mission is accomplished, right? So I can relax, I can do nothing because I've been a good girl or a good boy or anything else, right? And then, yeah, what they're doing is they're not really working that much because they're not productive, they're not motivated, and they have a lot of resistance towards change because they don't need to change, right? And what they're doing is they're just not working very hard, and they're moving again towards this point where they're poor again, and only then they're gonna become finally again motivated. Whereas the second person, if they're gonna be starting from here, yeah, but with an attitude that I wanna be rich both consciously and unconsciously, they're gonna go towards this point where the other person just stopped, yeah, and they're gonna still be moving towards being rich. Why? Well, because at this point they did not satisfy their most important mission, so to speak, where the other person did. Anytime that you are running from something, there will be inconsistent performance and there will be excess amount of resistance. And if you are having resistance, then just ask yourself, maybe you're running away from something, just like this guy was running away from being poor. Maybe you've been running away from something, and as soon as that thing disappeared, then your motivation just dropped and you did not know why and what happened, and then you are doing nothing basically until you get back to that thing that you've been running away from, and now you're suddenly again motivated to run away from it. In order to change this, start going towards something positive, not away from something negative. Why so? Well, because our minds do not understand the word no. They do not understand our negations. What we don't want is exactly what we do want, according to our mind. How is that possible? Well, the thing is, those two people that I mentioned, where one person was going towards being rich and the other one towards not being poor, well, let's analyze what kind of pictures do they have. The first person that is going away from being not poor, what is he thinking about? Is he thinking about prosperity? Is he thinking about a lot of money, wealth, something positive? No, he's thinking about poverty. And even though it's still going away from poverty, it still means that he's thinking and he's focused on poverty. Whereas the other one is having another picture in his mind. The picture of being wealthy, right? And why is that important? Because whatever pictures we have in our mind, these are our end goals. Any picture that we have in our minds is basically a command to our mind to go towards the direction of that picture, to make this picture a reality. So the first person, the person that is going away from being poor, he is having pictures in his mind of himself being poor and trying to run away from it and trying to fight it. And still, he's focusing on the negativity, on being poor. And that's what he's going to be attracting in his life. Whereas the other guy is going to be attracting positivity and prosperity and wealth. Just realize that when you are being asked to not think about something, you're not thinking about like a blank nothingness, right? So do not think about a blue giraffe, for example. You're not thinking about blank, about nothing, right? You're thinking, well, first of all, about a blue giraffe, and then you're trying to get rid of it. That's how our minds work. So when a person is thinking of, I don't want to be poor, well, first of all, they have to have a picture of them being poor and then trying to get rid of it. But that still means that they're going to be seeing themselves being poor, and that's what they're going to be focusing on. And wherever focus goes, energy flows. So they're going to be spending a lot of energy actually unconsciously to be poor rather than be rich. Okay, number 3 is status quo. Okay, so why is this important? Well, because our minds, our status quo is the thing in our minds that is trying to conserve energy as much as possible. Now, historically and evolutionally, that was quite a good and practical thing to have, but it's not always the case, especially when it comes to beliefs and when it comes to changing in order to change yourself to become a better version of who you want to be. So basically, the status quo is the things that our mind labels as safe or unsafe. And the safe things we're going to be doing without any resistance, and the unsafe ones, that's where we're going to have a lot of trouble. Okay, so what is the criteria for our minds to label a thing as unsafe and then give us a lot of trouble because of this, a lot of resistance? Well, there are 2 criterions that need to be respected, and that is being uncomfortable and unfamiliar. So anything that is unfamiliar or uncomfortable, our mind is gonna think that it's unsafe, and it's gonna try to save us from it because it thinks it's something dangerous, something we want to avoid. But as you can imagine, something that is uncomfortable for us or unfamiliar does not always have to mean that it is dangerous objectively, right? For example, starting a new routine, for example, waking up in the morning or starting to eat a healthier diet, might be quite uncomfortable and definitely unfamiliar, but does that mean that it's unsafe? Well, objectively, maybe it could be the safest thing for you ever, but your mind is still gonna label it as if it's something you want to avoid, as if it's a danger for you. At the same time, the opposite is true, and for example, something that your mind labels as safe might actually be one of the worst things that you could do to yourself. For example, eating junk food, right? Or sleeping really late. That's not really good for you, right? But it's familiar and it's comfortable, and you've been doing it maybe for a long while, and therefore your mind now labels it as something safe. And because it's safe, now it's hard to get rid of it, because right now your mind is invested in protecting this behavior, this pattern. Okay, so what I want to tell you is that experiencing resistance while going through change is something normal, is something actually expected. Okay, so why is this important? Because changing yourself to become a better version of yourself is self-improvement. And self-improvement is always a new territory. And new territory is what? Is something unfamiliar, right? And if it's unfamiliar, then it's automatically labeled by the mind as unsafe. And because it's unsafe, well, now you're gonna expect yourself to have some kind of a resistance, whether it comes in the form of having even a migraine, right? Or having mental fog, or not being able to sleep well, or not being able to concentrate. Now remember that our mind is going to be resisting any type of change, and it does not matter if this change is positive, long-term, or negative. It will all be in one category or box in the beginning, and that is unsafe, right? And if you experience inevitable resistance, that does not mean that you should quit, that you should stop, that it is somehow not your calling anymore. For example, imagine that you're working in a job that does not give you satisfaction in life at all, and what you wanted to be all your life is to be a cook. This is something you wanted since childhood, right? And this is something you really liked. And yeah, right now you're trying to incorporate a routine or a habit where you're trying to read for 1 hour every single day and find out different recipes, or maybe read about famous chefs, or maybe their interviews and stuff like that. And then you might find out that even you, the person that is so talented, has problems concentrating, and for some reason there's some resistance even to your own talent, even to your own destiny, so to speak, right? And so you might feel like, oh, maybe that's not my thing. Oh, if I'm feeling inside kind of bad, well, that means blah, blah, blah. But is it so? Or maybe it's the works of your status quo, of your mind that thinks that, oh, well, it's unfamiliar that you're doing right now, right? And because it's unfamiliar, now it's supposed to be somehow unsafe. And because it's unsafe, well, you're gonna have to face some kind of a resistance. But is this resistance a sign of something bad or something good, or maybe something neutral? Well, you're the one who's gonna decide this. In my opinion, if you are having some kind of a resistance to the thing that you know within yourself, deep within yourself, that you really like and that you're born to do here on this planet, right? In my opinion, I think resistance is something good. Why it's good? Well, because it's an indication that you're changing, right? So just like Eric Thomas said, if you want to shine like a diamond, you gotta get cut like a diamond. And being cut is not a particularly pleasant experience, right? So what you're doing is you're becoming a diamond by being cut. So it's not a bad thing to have resistance, to have some days when you feel lazy or defocused, you cannot concentrate, and you feel like you want to complain and do nothing all day long, and you just want to quit and you just hate it. Because it does not matter how talented you are, there's still gonna be some days when things are not gonna go the way you want them to go, and you're not gonna feel always extremely motivated to go and do this. But that is okay, because all that is just your status quo. Your mind is trying to protect you and nothing else. But that's not a sign that you have to run away from it, right? What you want to do is you just want to continue going towards your goal, and then you're going to see that it's going to become easier and easier, because your mind is going to gradually understand that, hey, this is not so dangerous after all. Maybe I can help him out. And then a funny thing is gonna happen, because the same mind that was trying to bring you down, to make you feel like you cannot focus, or make you feel like crap and make you want to give up, right? The same mind is now gonna try to motivate you, to uplift your spirits and make you feel like you're able to take this world and accomplish whatever you want. And of course you can apply it to all kinds of talents, not just cooking. So don't get afraid or surprised whenever you are having resistance, even to the things that you're really good at, and even to the things that you really like you genuinely enjoy them, but for some reason you still have resistance. Well, that's okay. That's fine. Don't ever be afraid of this constant bombardment from your status quo. That is inevitable, and you should expect it, and it's temporary. These are the good news. Any change, whether good or bad, is going to be resisted by our mind. And that knowledge will give you the power to go ahead and do it anyway. Good luck. Alright, thank you very much for investing your time in this video. I really appreciate that. If you found value in this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. Here is the summary, and see ya in the next video.